Hello and welcome to the Release 3.2 webcast for the Allegro Network Multimeter. My name is Klaus Degner and I'm leading the product management. Today I would like to show you all new features and improvements of the Allegro Release 3.2. I've prepared 4 slides which I will walk through and present you live in the web interface what is new with the Allegro. So, slide number 1. Feature number 1 is the flexible graph resolution. Let me go to an active Allegro. And what did we do? We improved the in-memory database to deliver more results back to the web interface. And this has allowed us to increase the graph detail. Before, the graph detail was very poor. It wasn't very poor, but it was limited, and you did not see spikes in the traffic. And with a new release, you can switch the graph quality to different levels. The higher the quality, the more bandwidth is required between the Allegro and the web interface, between your client PC. The default setting now is medium, and this allows us as well as a balance between a lot of traffic or a very high graph resolution. You can also go to Ultra if you're very close to the Allegro, if the bandwidth doesn't count, and if your client PC has enough power to render all these graphs in real time. So this is saved per subscriber, so you can change that here in your user settings. And this is also active for all graphs. So let me go to IP statistics, and here we again have now a graph with a very high resolution. So when we disable that, we now see very good quality graphs. So this has changed with the current release. Next item on my list is our new incident engine. Well, we worked with many potential customers and existing customers, and we have seen that the incidents that we had in the past are not the best, and we redesigned the complete engine. So what is new? Number 1, you can have different notification channels. One channel, of course, is the web interface, but you can also add now different email channels and different syslog channels to report incidents. Incidents itself has a new rule engine. So for example, we have here a rule which is triggered by an IP flow end. And whenever a flow ends and the retransmission rate is more than 5%, and there's no filtering for a virtual link or for an IP group or for a specific IP address, then this rule will report, oh, there was a flow with high retransmission and it ended. And now we can check, for example, for these rules the statistics and see this rule has hit quite a lot. And now, of course, we can look and see, oh yes, for example, here rule number 0 hit. And let me go to this, for example, and then you can immediately see the connection. Wait, I have to disable my filter. Now we can see the connection and see, of course, the retransmission which was there. And we can also see the counters, of course. So we had only a few packets. And, well, there was maybe one packet retransmission, just 69 bytes. So maybe you would like to improve this rule. And this is now very easy. So let's edit this rule. And now we can add a new attribute for that. For example, the total packets must be more than 1000. And now if we apply this rule, then we only get high retransmission connections with a lot of packets. Now we implemented a lot of these filters for specific triggers. I have here 3 more examples. One is for IP addresses. So whenever an IP address has more than 5% retransmission, in a time span of 10 seconds, we report that. Again, here you can combine any rules. And then another one is, for example, the handshake. So whenever a handshake was slow, we can report. Or if a SIP call has ended, for example, then when the MOS is, for example, low and the call was more than 5 seconds, so well, when a call is 1 second, calculating the MOS is quite complicated, or not possible even. So only for calls which were really existing for 5 seconds, we try to report everything what is MOS below 3. And of course, now you can add a lot of other rules, and with this release, we added quite a lot of filters. We will add with the next release more filters or more triggers. And we played with that feature, and we got very good feedback from test customers. And so we hope that this will be deployed widely and helps you to report directly to you or automatically to SIEM systems that something happened in the network which is not good. So handshake times, retransmissions, all these things. Okay. Next feature what we did is we did more dashboards for the custom dashboards. So I've did here a small dashboard where I have shown a very few new elements. So one is, for example, for quality of service class, that we can show now one class, or for DNS server, we can show what's the response time for one DNS server, for example, and or traffic also per port as a widget. And we added a lot more widgets. So for layer 7, we get HTTP, RTP, SIP, SSL. Top layer 7 was there before, and so we added quite a lot of more widgets. If you would like to have other widgets, so graphs which exist somewhere, and they should be shown here, please let us know, and then we add them. This feature will help you to generate more custom dashboards that show more things on one dashboard that you could combine. Okay, the next feature was request we got a few times from customers where the Allegro is installed completely without internet access, and where it's a local network which is not connected to the internet. The problem for them is that they have no access to the new manual. And well, we improved that in the user settings, you can now activate an offline manual. With that offline manual activated, well, what happens if you click now the manual button? Then this page now, it looks like the same like the wiki, but it's local. So this is now locally on our Allegro device, which I'm showing here, and it's not on the internet anymore. So we generate a copy of the wiki and store it on the Allegro, but please note that this is only a copy, and this is always from the time from the release. It's not the newest version which you can always find in the internet. Okay, next feature on my list is configuration, store and reload. So we improved the system that you can store the current configuration on the multimeter itself. And then you can reload configurations. This has been designed for field engineers, which have an Allegro and which is installed on different locations. So you can have a configuration for bridge mode with this and this and this setting and another one, and then you can easily switch between the configurations before you have to export and import the configuration. So this is now a lot easier to do in field. Next item, we got quite often the request that whenever you capture traffic, is it possible to also add a string search or a regex engine that you can search in the payload for a specific pattern. Background here is, oh, I had a specific DNS request and I need to find it. Or I had a specific HTTP URL and I need to find the packets from that request because that went wrong, something like that. So we improved the Allegro and added a regex engine to it. It works in real time and it also works back in time. So for example, let me use this as expert filter now. And this regular expression matches everything which is Allegro and has the protocol DNS. So we can run that in real time. and show that in the WebShark. So now we just have to wait a few seconds. And then we see, of course, a lot of DNS requests within our office. So, but also, for example, let's take this request, which is, wait, we have to clear that first and then use that. So when we use this request, which is the regex get /HTTP on HTTP, we could use that, for example, also back in time. So let's take the last hour. And if we now start the capture, then we match on that string. And let's wait if we get a few packets. So now we can stop that and open it. And well, very good. We now get only root requests and their packets. And this helps a lot to find specific requests, specific packets. And this is implemented very generically, but be careful with it. So whenever you place their complicated regex expressions, it could slow down the capturing, or it could slow down even the whole processing if you do that in real time. And so if you do that on a 100 gig link, it might not be possible. But it really depends on the hardware. So take a look at the system load. Okay, next feature on my list is the IPsec per tunnel statistics. We got quite often the request that, yes, you have an IPsec module, but I would like to see the IPsec traffic, not globally, as we had before, but also per connection. So I loaded here with the offline feature a replay PCAP with IPsec traffic. And now we can see here we had some IPsec and we had some not in order sequence numbers. And now what is new is we can look at the connections and see each IPsec with source and destination. And we can see then, in addition, what was the transferred bytes, packets, and of course the sequence number. So here we had one connection which was very bad, so millions of lost packets, and others like this, which was very good, with 2, 3, 4, 5 lost packets. And this now helps to identify IPsec connections with good quality, with bad quality, and and it helps a lot to just improve the view, especially for people who are working remote with IPsec. Next feature on my list is TACACS. So up to now we had for the user management the ability to have a local user and LDAP users. With the newest release we also allow TACACS to be configured, and then you have to configure the host name and all the settings, and then the group mappings, that which user is mapped to which group. And then you can use a centralized user management by TACACS. And we have already deployed this at various test customers, and well, TACACS is quite complicated with small extensions, but we got it working, and now it's part of the global release. A similar feature here is that we have specific systems events that we can now log in the browser, but also which are allowed to be logged via syslog. So a good example here is that whenever a login is successful, we mark this. Let me show a few more here. But even if there are failed logins, we send alerts for that. If you start a packet processing, if you update a firmware, all these things are now monitored and shown here in the system events page. Also, this can be forwarded to a SIEM system to detect, oh, a session timed out for a user, or someone did something on the system and you need to monitor that. Okay, that's everything of slide number 1. Let's continue with slide number 2. Well, we decided to add a feature which is one of the most requested ones, and which is the packet processing mode. up to now you had to decide per Allegro, do I use it in bridge mode or in sync mode? And we got the request, can we mix this mode? Up to now we said, well, be careful with that, because if you mix it and then you connect it in the wrong way, well, you either get a loop in your network or you have a dead link. So we decided, okay, we keep the two old modes and add the mixed mode. And if you configure that mode, well, it's very simple. Now you can go to the interface stats. Let me go back to my live device and can select here the sync and bridge mode easily, and you can then switch between them. Of course, if you switch here to bridge mode, the other port will also go to bridge mode. So let's go back to sync. Next thing what we did here is that you can also disable the interface completely, which means you shut down the port. So the link goes off, and on the opposite, so on the switch, the link goes off too. And this helps, for example, if you have SFPs or so and you need to reconfigure the switch or a mirror port, then it thinks the link is down. And this was also a request we received quite often. Please allow to disable the port. Another one which was requested is that the gigabit ports, they should do 100 megabit with auto negotiation. The background here is that in a lot of installation we had the Allegro connected to a 100 megabit device and a gigabit device. And this would allow to force the switch to go to 100 megabit, but with full duplex, if we select the 100 megabit AutoNEC mode. The 100 megabit fixed mode was just 100 megabit, no announcement. So this is also now possible. Next feature is for virtual link groups. We have seen installations where we had mixed VLAN traffic and non-VLAN traffic. So we added two special VLAN groups, which is, one is the outer tag is any VLAN, and then you can, for example, combine all traffic, which is one VLAN, and the other special group now is untagged. So put everything which has no VLAN into one group. And this helps in installations where you have mixed traffic on a mirror port to distinguish between. Okay. Next small improvement is that we added for the time dialog also the mode yesterday or today. And that gives you a very simple overview what happened yesterday in our network, and improved that. So another thing here is that we had some history graphs. And for example, you can now easily go back to an interval which you have used before. And if this is very important for you, you can mark it as a favorite interval, and then you can just use that and switch back and forth for that interval. And then we also improved the active capture. Well, up to now we have only shown here the captures which are active for the logged in user. Now we show here in addition also the captures which are active by other users. The background here is that the more captures are extracting from the disk, the slower the extraction works. And here you can check, does someone else use the extraction feature right now? Yes or no? Then maybe I wait with my extraction, and so I get here an easy overview. Okay, then we improved the quality of service statistics, which is now better, and also, for example, has a CSV button to download the data. And another thing which we improved is with release 3.1, we added for the TCP statistics an interesting counter, which is in the retransmission, the estimated missed data counter. Let me go if we had some missed data in the last day. Yes, very few. Missed data means, oh, we see acknowledged packets but we haven't seen the data packet. And this is a good indication that packets have not been forwarded to the Allegro. And it's a good indication that there's an overload situation at the mirror port or at a packet broker, for example. And this was a global graph. The problem here was that, especially in installations where you had multiple packet brokers, that how could you identify which packet broker or which port is overloaded? So we added now the missed data also to the IP statistics. So if we have here an IP address, we can see now in the TCP statistics, especially for that IP address, what is the missed data rate. And by that method, you can identify, oh, I get missed data for only one IP address, and this is connected via this mirror port. And so it seems this mirror port is overloaded. So I need to install a tab there, or things like that. And also it gives you a quality level of the forwarding rate of your packets within your installation. Please note that this is a guess. If there are extreme retransmissions, which take more than 10 seconds, it could happen that we show some missed data. So it's an indication, it's not 100% proof that packets are missing. Okay, this is everything of slide number 2. Let's get to slide number 3, which is a lot about SIP features. So for SIP, we added quite a lot of features, and the easiest one to show is that we have a reduced view now. So whenever you see a long list with calls, we can now select a reduced view, and then, well, we can see a lot of more calls just on one page. So let me zoom to that call, for example, and take the reduced view back, and then we can go to this call, for example. And with that call, now we can easily identify a lot more fields. So for example, we can have SIP display name, contact fields, request fields. We added there more fields also, like the request header, contact header, asserted identity header, or preferred identity. So all meta information which are submitted with SIP. We can see a lot more here. And we also added features like the difference between the RTP call and the SIP duration. So this signalizes, for example, very easily that, well, the RTP call stopped, but SIP continued, if there's a big difference between them. And so this both improved the SIP statistics and also improved the way that you can work easier with them. Okay, last slide. There are more other small features that we added. So I already have shown the quality of service download, which is now included. There are more CSV downloads. Please see the complete release notes for that. We also added secure hardware erase for SSDs. SSDs have internally special commands for SATA or for NVMe to erase an SSD within seconds. And this saves cycles. This is really 100% erase, so also for blocks which are not in use anymore. And it's a lot faster. So we tested that with our SSDs and it works very well. So we enable now secure erase when you erase a disk. Then we added the filter rules for the ring buffer. We improved the numbers. So before we had up to 20 rules if you have a ring buffer to filter specific traffic, and we ran into installation where we need a lot more. So we increased the numbers here just to 100. Then we also improved the progress bar for the ring buffer reanalyze. We have seen at customers which have a petabyte ring buffer that they use the reanalyze to really reanalyze a petabyte data from some time ago. And there we have now better progress that you see how long does it take. And then, which is very important for customers who have a lot of devices, that with release 3.2, we don't have to submit you a new license per device. We can send bulk licenses. So which is a license which is then valid for all your devices, and you don't have to find the right license for your right device. And last but not least, we improved the IP grouping menu. We've seen customers using the Allegro with more than 2000 IP groups, and filtering and searching for IP groups was very complicated before. Now it's a lot easier. And of course, we added hundreds of bug fixes with the release and improved again stability in corner cases and so on. We hope you will like the release 3.2, and we would be happy to get feedback. We would be happy to get more knowledge about what worked very well, what is your main pain points, and to improve with release 3.3 and with upcoming releases. Then again, just the troubleshooting part of the Allegro more and more. Thank you very much for listening to that webcast, and I hope you will check out the other videos, and we will see you soon.